Okay, Altar's Keeper, another one again. Yeah, remember, guys, this is Be the Light, Share the Light, and Shine the Light. And what we are doing this afternoon is that we are shining the light upon this wonderful interview that Jesse Lee Peterson have done. He's a great interviewer. He's great at the show. And the name of the show is right what you're seeing right there on the screen. The Fallen State. And the way he sneak his way in the mind of people is so cool. So without any further ado, let's just dive into the clip. And I'll be kind of like, coming in and telling you certain things to be looking out for, especially as the whole thing will be moving forward.
If radical homosexuals were not imposing themselves upon
radical
society,
homosexuals, what is that?
Upon Christians.
And that is intentional, and that is important for him to put that in right from the beginning, because that helps set up the stage and help them be in the place where they're supposed to be and to see exactly what they're doing and see it for what it is, because it is just them being radical, to say the least. So that's awesome. Great intro, Jesse.
Would Christians be fighting back in such a big way? It's not like the Christians are looking for them. The radical homosexuals are going after the Christians and trying to change the church and bring their secular ideas into the church, into families. And so you have Christians
by asking Christians to do what Jesus asked of them.
And he's using the regular attack, trying to use the Bible against Jesse. Meanwhile, that particular line does not really work anymore. The devil tried to use the same tactic with Jesus on the mountain, and it didn't work. Jesus used the Bible back to him. So that's very kind of like one of the proof that a spirit is involved, because instead of him trying to own the whole thing and realize the action and what their action is doing to the population, he's now trying to play games. But it's so funny. It's kind of like, most of these things normally they upset me, to say the least.
Which was to love thy brethren regardless to
hold on
what their
continue. And so if radical homosexuals were not imposing on Christians,
I hope you saw that reaction. Those are body language communication that explains him not being comfortable being around, or listening to those type of Christians, because somehow what Jesse is telling him is, kind of like the truth that you can't really avoid or you can't deny.
There'll be this big battle going on. Lauren, first and then you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say that, hey, what if some of this is self-defense? We feel like we're being attacked, and so we need to. And yeah, I'm not against Christian activism in any way, but I think it's important that we don't let ourselves become wrapped up in like political debates as Christians to the point where we overlook the larger, broader message of the gospel.
So you agree then that the radical homosexuals are imposing?
So one of the things you need to observe here is that this lady, she's brilliant. She articulates her thought well, but she's trying to be politically correct. And that's always the problem of people that are trying to be too nice. Because that is one of the plague in the church right now, is that most of us believers, we are trying to accept everybody. In heaven, there are walls and gates. If you don't meet certain criteria according to the plan of God, you won't make it in. That is why the scripture says that no sin will make it to heaven. No sin. If you're a sinner, you will not make it there. And God is not emotional about it. So, yeah, and look the way she will be kind of like behaving herself throughout the whole interview. She will be focusing her attention on the guy. And it looks like she's doing her best to attract the attention of the guy instead of speaking the truth and standing where the truth stands.
On families, Christian families, they want to change the order of the family,
by asking them to be accepting of their gay sons and daughters.
Like that. So you don't see gluttony.
What an encroachment upon your life.
Well, let's be.
So you see the line where he used by saying that the kind of like the parent that don't agree with their children, thinking about getting married to another man or a man that is trying to get him. He's now saying that the parent should accept the gay marriage of their children. Meanwhile, it's the prayer of the parent to pray, intercede for his children, instead of agreeing to those type of things that literally makes no sense. Because no parent, you literally gave birth to that child. And for that child, instead of thinking about keeping the family lineage, making sure that the purposes of why he was on earth should be achieved. Now, they are pursuing a lust because, homosexualism is an act of lust. It's a lust in the soul. So, yeah, let's continue, worshiping this. This one is kind of like funny because I can see how Jesse is successfully getting into their mind. But for some reason, when you observe their reasoning pattern, it's just, it obsesses. I'm kind of like forced to kind of like say some word that I'm not really comfortable saying them. Because, these people, they need to really realize that their intent, they might have some innocent intent, but the result is catastrophic at the end.
Let's be more specific here. Like, what policies specifically are you talking about? Because any regulations where they would be able to like go into a Christian school and say you must do that, I oppose that. I am very strongly for freedom of religion, and if freedom of religion is being attacked, of course, as Christians, we should speak out about it. I think in some ways it is, but like again, that can't get in the way of our larger, our larger mission of proselytizing.
So should I feel attacked if I'm going to the subway and there's Christians espousing their gospel on megaphones? Like, should I feel attacked by their actions?
No.
So just simply speaking up, exactly. So, but on the flip, you're going to say that radical homosexuals are attacking straight people.
They are.
Because we're speaking up for ourselves.
No, you're trying to impose it. You're not.
No, it's not imposed.
For example, homosexual marriage.
And that is a great point Jesse is making right there by specifying the fact that they are trying to impose, because that is exactly what they're doing. Nobody is actually going into their bedroom to pull them out of their bedroom and saying whatever they're doing there is wrong. The problem is the fact that they are now going into the school trying to teach it to children, to bring it like in the curriculum format, which is crazy to say the least. It's just crazy. Like children, literally, now you can even see now they have programs in school that go right from kindergarten, where children of 3 years old, they are reading crazy book to them, talking about sex, talking about, and it's just not. So, yes, Lee is correct in that particular argument point where he's making sure that the radical homosexual are not just, claiming to be homosexual, but they are pushing it on people, on Christian, most important.
There's a difference between stepping up and saying, hey, I'm a homosexual and I'm worthy of love.
But no one cares.
Obviously you do, because we're still having this conversation.
But if you didn't impose it on the Christians, they would go about their...
You see, I love the way Jesse does it, because he will say no one's care. And exactly, no one actually cares about what they do in their bedroom. I mean, if all of this homosexual thing was about their bedroom and their secret prison, whatever they do there, nobody will ever pay attention to it. Now, the problem is the fact that they are trying to compare other people now to agree with them in the same thing. And now with this whole crazy thing that is going on now with transgenderism, where men want to be called women and they want people that are sane, normal, to do the same. No, it won't work. It's just crazy stuff. But those are the state of affairs right now.
Lives,
that's absolutely not true. That's absolutely not true, because
you impose that upon the courts. You try to force Christians to accept that, rather
just
than
in the same way that black people force themselves upon white people because they
cares.
spoke up about having rights in this country.
So what? Repeat that.
What I said was, so is that the same as stating that black people were imposing upon white people
when we stood up
for our rights?
What does that have? That's not the same conversation.
It is actually the exact same conversation.
Homosexuality is not about civil rights. It's not about love. It's not about family. It's about
civil
sex.
Defines.
And I love it the way he have just cut the ties right there. by making the difference between the civil rights movement and homosexualism. The deeper form, I mean, the real core problem with homosexual, especially here in America, is the fact that they are trying to coerce, especially Christians, to agree with whatever they are doing. And that is the core of the issue. Like, as believers, we have nothing to do with them, basically. And Jesse has been saying it quite right from the beginning, that nobody actually cares of what you guys are doing in your bedroom. But you guys should not like try to force children to agree to it. I mean, if you're 18 and you want to do your stuff, go ahead and do them. It's fine. It's your life, and you kind of like explain yourself to God at the end of time when the judgment comes. But don't coerce innocent children, because now they are pushing it in schools. Not only in school, they are now pushing it in churches. And there are a lot of churches that is so sad to see how they are even going through this whole thing. Now you can even ask the question, is Jesus still alive? But yes, he's seated on the throne. He's king, he's Lord. And things like this, make things kind of like waggy and weird to just kind of like. Anyway, let's continue the clip. Remember, this is Be the Light, Shine the Light, and Share the Light.
It's not about sex. That's where you're mistaken.
No, I'm
and
not.
You can never speak on it because you're not a homosexual man.
It's about sex.
You can never speak on it because you're not a homosexual man.
And this is my...
Can you accept that?
Hold on. The thing that made Elizabeth...
And that is even a very wrong argument, that he's saying that because he's not a homosexual, he can't speak about it. It's just wrong. I mean, the fact that they are pushing it on others should be enough for everyone to speak about it. And it's very clear that when it comes to homosexual people, they are radical. Not only are radical, they have a goal, is to compel society to accept their way of life. Meanwhile, society in general does not really have an interest in it, because it is a very corrosive system that have literally destroyed Rome in the past. And nobody wants to relive that history. So, yeah, let's again see how Jesse, in this particular piece that I'm about to play, you will see how he will sneak literally in his brain, and he will be forced to repeat what Jesse is saying. It's so good.
Beyond a lesbian is that a female has sex with another lesbian female.
Sexual preferences are about sexual preference, but if I can interject my small government viewpoint in this, the reason why I understand the whole gay marriage debate is that I don't believe, again, the government should be involved in marriage at all. But because it is, there are a lot of other things that relate to the marriage contract, as it were, that come outside of like love is love, whatever. Like, marriage contracts are about government recognition of a relationship, and that can affect your inheritance, that can affect hospital times that you're allowed to visit each other, that can affect, yes, it can affect.
You could write a contract to say, when I die, I want Lou Ella to get all my stuff.
Yeah, if you're someone who actually has a will, if you actually have a will, but it's not automatic, right? That's why marriage exists from the government,
when
right?
I'm in the hospital, I need
Same with like
healthcare.
healthcare. If you want to bring someone on your healthcare,
they don't need a law for that. They can write a contract.
And can you give me your definition of a civil right?
I want to go quickly back to this this question. Do you agree with me that what makes a man or a woman a lesbian or homosexual is that they have sex with the same sex?
Sexual preferences are about sexual preferences. Right. Yeah, I think
and
we would all agree on that.
It's not about love, it's not about family, and it's not about civil rights. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. That's and I love it. Jesse's really good. And I love the temperament of Jesse. He's just calm, collected, and bringing forth his thought. Remember, we are kind of like being the light here, shining the light, and bringing some spot out for us to enjoy and to understand how to behave when we are in the face of type of situation like this.
Well, I mean, no, because the Greeks actually have several different types of love, one of them being specific to like romantic love, eros, and that is something that would so the gay relationships are based around that type of...
They teach this in liberal schools.
And where are the Greeks now? If you even try to take that analogy, it's crazy. It's just crazy.
Where are the Greeks now?
Right.
The Greeks?
Who did you say?
The Greeks in general. Just the different types of love.
Where are they now?
they're
Yes,
still
because
a
they embraced
country.
homosexuality, their civilization went to hell. Yeah.
And he's well informed. He knows the story. He understood what happened. He's so funny. But that's really good. Let's keep continuing. Enjoy the clip.
I rest my
Got it.
case.
Yeah.
Rest my case.
So
You
guess
said
what?
it
So then
well.
America is on
So
a
you-
decline to going straight to hell then, right?
So what?
Based on so then America is on its way straight to hell then.
Not
Well,
now.
no, but I'm trying
What
to
do you mean not
explain
now?
why the
'Cause
whole gay
homosexuals have-
marriage
radical
debate.
homosexuals have taken over.
No, the point of the Greeks in this particular context is the fact that they got destroyed from within because of their insanity. Oh my God. How is it not that simple for him to understand the whole point? I mean, it's just kind of like crazy stuff. But yes, this is how so far some people have gone, and this is how they think. It's just crazy. But anyway, bear with me. We are actually here. We are being the light. We are sharing the light, and we are shining it on this type of situation.
woman
they
is
not?
going to be in marriage.
You can't turn on
Why-
the TV without seeing
Hold on,
one.
Lauren. Repeat that.
I'm saying, well, that based on what you're saying, then America is basically going straight to hell because you can't turn on the TV without seeing, the influence of gay people.
But that's starting to
so
change.
if America has
That's
embraced
changing now.
homosexuality,
I mean, that was not even the point of using the Greek when they were talking about the Greek in this particular context. The Greek and the Rome in general, they got destroyed from within because of their insanity. They had no limit because they fell into their lust. And when we are talking about France, England, Italy, and all these Europe countries, they were actually a kingdom. That was the Rome kingdom that split up because of their lust, basically. And for them to even use it as a point of judgment. I mean, Sodom and Gomorrah in the Bible was judged because of the same act. But in this particular case, thank God, there are still men that God is using right now to intercede for the nation and change the course of everything. But yeah, and if America is still on this path, something might happen at the end. They might be judged at the end because everyone will be judged according to his works. So anyway, let's continue the clip. Remember, be the light, shine the light, and share the light.
if they could fight in our military, which they didn't destroy like as conservatives said that it would. Gays who have gotten married hasn't destroyed and corrupted the family. It's actually improved and made families much better. You should thank us, straight people, for adopting the children that you guys give up.
No, that's not a good idea.
No, it's a great idea because
it's
someone
not.
has to take care of them.
No.
So,
Absolutely not a good idea. Terrible idea to take a child and put in a family of two same-sex people. Like, how could a man play the role of a mother? It's impossible. Only a man can play the role of a father, and a woman the role of a woman. And a man can never be a good mother. And this whole idea of allowing homosexual to adopt children, it is just crazy, to say the least, about this whole thing. It's crazy because that child, even if the two same-sex people love the child and give everything to the child, the fundamental, which is all about life, reproduction, and giving, how will I say it? There are orders in life. That child will basically miss off those parts because these two men does not understand the importance of recreation. They don't do it, and they might say, oh, the child will grow up and go to school. But the problem with the fact that the child will study in a school is that the foundation is not settled. The child does not understand the fundamental importance of a child growing in a family where we have a dad and a mom, and that he or she have to be taught that having a child is true regular sexual activity between a married woman and a married husband. And it's so kind of like crazy. I don't know if I'm kind of like making sense with all these things. And for him to use that like a point of leverage where they are literally doing a favor is crazy, to say the least. It's just crazy. So let's continue.
has to show them
That's a
love.
bad idea.
No, it's
Do you
actually a
think-
great idea.
Do you think
It's a
radical
great idea.
homosexuals should be able to adopt?
Absolutely.
I think that
There's not enough straight people to take care of all those kids.
Do you think they should adopt?
I think that a couple should be able to adopt if they've hang on. I think two people should be
She's not
able
the kind of
to.
conservative you're looking for. So.
I think two people should be able to adopt if they demonstrate the things that psychologists have.
Being tolerant. That's one of the problems plaguing the church right now in America, where pastors, leaders in the faith, not even leader, regular Christian, they are not able to stand on what Jesus stand on. Two the same sex people cannot, in a very fundamental way of explaining this thing, raise a child that will grow and be the word is productive. Because when we are talking about productive, we are thinking about the future generation. We are thinking about people that will be able to keep the United States as a nation running. Because if the idea of this homosexuality that is going on really takes hold in society and people believe women should go with women, I mean, America will stop existing in the future. And even if they start doing this crazy science where they are explaining you can, conceive without, and do the ovule transmission and all this crazy thing that they do in biology, it's just crazy science. But that will not bring forth the true nature of what God have intended to man, especially this wonderful nation called America, where we need a mother and a dad that will basically get married and have their children in a very normal environment. And all this thing is just kind of like hard to really discuss about with people having thought like this, an idea like this. It's just hard. But let's continue listening to him and enjoy Jesse, getting into his brain.
Decades. I know, but I'm answering the question.
Well, you're such a nice lady. Why don't you answer my question? Don't be like him.
Yeah, because I don't. Because the premise of radical.
You're a Christian.
Right, because the premise of radical homosexuality, like I don't know what that means to you.
But he doesn't know what it means either. He's
right.
Amazing.
Right, but
amazing.
I think it's our job as.
Christianity is not being tolerant. It's not being passive. It's not being casual. Those are the three words that the Holy Spirit recently revealed to me about the church. When you said you don't have to be tolerant, most people will be thinking about being rash. When you say you don't have to be passive, they will there are some people that are strong. And when you say people don't have to literally accept everything, they will just be using some crazy words. But these are actually the things that is plaguing the church at this particular moment, where people don't realize that even in heaven, there are boundaries, there are limits, there are certain things that you can't go beyond. And this is one of those things where this lady, she's well spoken, like what I've said earlier. She can articulate her thought and idea and everything, but she's just a carnal human being. That's my basic understanding of how she thinks. She believes, everybody should be accepted, which is the basic line of Christianity. But not everything is then tolerated. Because when you come in Christ with the way you are, what happens is that Christ gives you what you should be. You cannot come in Christ the way you are and you stay the way you are. That is not. When we come to Christ, what happens is that our filth that we come with, Jesus takes it and gives us his light. And if you don't do that transaction, you are not a Christian. You are just a church goer, a church participant, a church attender. And that will not strike a chord in eternity, because at the end, Jesus will say, like what he said in the Bible, away from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you. So, and this lady is kind of like in the same line. Well-spoken thought, trying to appeal to the guy. And you've observed the way she's talking, she's kind of like focusing on the guy a little bit. Meanwhile, you don't need to focus to anybody. You just need to look into the truth and speak it the way you know it and allow the Holy Spirit to judge you. Period. So let's go through this video. Remember, be the light, share the light, and shine the light.
As Christians who take children in, and I don't think a Catholic church should.
About Christians, I say radical homosexuals.
Right, but I don't know what that means to you.
Those that impose their lifestyle on Christians.
Can you give any
do-
examples as to how, like, any anecdotes to how radical gays impose on straight people?
Same-sex marriage.
Is that not two
wanna
people
teach it in
deciding?
the-
I mean, the fact that they are imposing to churches to marry them, that is one of the radical action that they are taking. You know, literally imposing Christian business to literally adorn their insanity. I heard from some of the clip, I think it was on Instagram today, where one of the pastors was complaining of the fact that he literally got some problem in his bakery business because a transgender wanted to force him to bake a cake for their crazy marriage stuff. You know, and this is the problem with these people, is that they are not even aware of the fact that they are imposing their idea on other people. They are not even aware, and he's really being ignorant. And this lady pretending to be a Christian, because she's not, definitely, according to my own observation in this clip, she's definitely not a Christian. She is portraying to be a Christian, and it's so sad to see that. So let's keep continuing the clips.
For themselves.
They want to teach it in the schools.
How does that impose
too.
on
I'm
anyone
asking
sitting
you a
in this
question.
room?
I'm asking you a question.
Now, I'm actually against when it comes to schools. I don't think there should be these discussions for young children. I'm very much against that. I think in a lot of ways.
Why? Young children know. Young children know.
Do they know the?
And if they had parents that actually fostered acceptance and tolerance, then they would come out much sooner. It wouldn't
Right, and
have to be
that's-
25.
That is actually the problem. That is and I'm kind of like a little bit glad the fact that she at least, you know, adopt that limit, because, you know, the point of children is critical. It's really important. And you know, this whole thing is not even against adult. They are literally going against the children, because they know if they subdue children at their young age, it will be easy for them to manipulate them and use them into their nefarious thought and idea on what they are trying to do. So yes, at this point, she's kind of like turning around the whole thing, but she's kind of like halfway in. But I think, to my own personal observation, she still have a lot to do. She still have a lot to do as a Christian. I understand that the truth is the truth. There is no partial truth. When you are for the truth, you go in for it and allow God to be your judge. So.
Years
Against
old,
teaching it
twice
in the
divorced
schools.
with 5 kids.
teaching
to
it
then
in
be
the
like,
schools, because I don't
I was
believe
gay the
that
whole
it would
time.
be
This is why
taught.
she against teaching in school.
Yeah, I don't think it would be taught in a way that is, you know, fostering of merely just acceptance and openness and tolerance and love, which are Christian values that I would support for anybody. It's not as Christians, it's not up to us to say you are not deserving of our love, right? So that, you know, if that's about what it is, then I'd be fine. I believe that parents should take it upon themselves to teach their children that for anybody. That way, you know, regardless of the race, religion, whatever, we don't have people who are just totally awful to, you know, their fellow man. That's important. But when it comes to specifically what we teach in school, I think that there are political ideologies that are taking over to the point that it goes beyond like what is just acceptance and love. And I worry that we are introducing certain concepts to kids when they are too young to understand. Like the issue of transgenderism, for example. Gender dysphoria is a medically recognized thing that some people go through.
do you believe that?
Okay, I just want kind of like just come in and address the fact that she's saying it's a medicalized. And I was kind of like a little bit surprised when I came here in America, and I find out that many things back home, especially in Africa when I'm coming from, we don't consider those things as diseases, because like what she's saying here, transgenderism is a medically, I don't even know how she put it, but she did put it quite right. But honestly speaking, it is a spiritual thing. It is definitely a spiritual thing that people are struggling with. Because you cannot be a normal human being and try now to behave as if you are not. It's just crazy. So for her to be using that like a medical thing, yes, I mean, according to doctor, because they're trying to make their money, they will say that, but Orderly speaking, it is not. It is a spiritual thing.
What?
What she just stated.
Are you saying
Gender
that
dysphoria is
meaning that it's a mental illness that needs to be dealt with?
yeah. I mean, we could call it that. Yeah. I mean,
A mental
obviously.
illness. Yeah, I agree with you. It is a mental illness.
Right. And
That is kind of like the politically correct way of putting it, like a mental illness. But if you go deeply into it, you'll find out that it is a demon in charge of that operation. It's a demonic spirit of lust. And it is literally the gap. It is a void that a demon is filling. And that void is only Jesus that can fill it. So, yeah. I mean, listening to all this is kind of
there,
like hard.
we should. So if someone's experiencing that, then obviously, like as their brothers and sisters, family and friends, we need to be there to support them, etc.
Meaning not support them in accepting it as a norm, but to show them how to overcome it, right? Right, Lauren?
Well, I mean, when it comes to
Lauren,
okay, so
what
the
is
thing.
wrong with
So she's literally talking to the guy instead of standing on. And again, you know, that is the problem of us believers. Too passive, too compassionate, too tolerant. And at the end of all this whole thing, being casual about Christianity. There are certain things that you don't let go on, especially when it comes to sanity. So this whole thing is just heartbreaking to see her trying to play that game.
you?
Well, what
You
gender
like-
dysphoria?
Sir,
Your Christianity is...
Sir, do you recognize that
you got
in
me
all of the existence of
amazing.
humanity, that gays
Hold on,
have
wait a minute.
always
Just one moment.
existed,
Then I
that
wanna move away
transgender
from
people
this.
Wait, hang on,
always
let me
existed?
ask you
There's
this.
been
Do you-
nothing that has
Hang
ever
on.
changed that. And you could pray and wish
Hold
it away
on.
all you want to.
Hold
It's
on,
not
buddy.
going to change.
Do you,
so the
do you
better thing to
believe
do
that
for
the man?
society is
Do
to
you believe
accept
that
it.
the brain of a man and the brain of a woman is different?
Yes.
I very much believe that the brain of a man and the brain of a woman is different. Therefore, I'm open to the idea that because of some like a medical mishap, that there's
not
But
medical.
why does it have to be a mishap?
It's
Well,
not
because
If
bad.
God
Now she's trying to explain a purely spiritual things with physical things. And it is the problem that we believers always have. And you will see, I think, like, if we continue this clip, you will see that they will try to use that as an excuse that God made a mistake. It is not possible for God to make a mistake or for a man to find himself in the body of a woman. That is not. It is a demonic spiritual manipulation, because all these things happen in the realm of the soul, and it is touching the part of feeling. And feeling, normally you can feel anything, and most of the time all what you feel is not true. So it's crazy to see how she's not settled in that realm. And I can totally understand the fact that she's trying to appeal to that guy.
no mistakes,
because
and
it
every-
deviates from the
and
norm in the
every
same way
child
that
that comes into
polio
this
is a mishap,
world
or the
is-
same way that it's deviating from the norm. And the people who go through this, it's very hard for them. It's something that if has driven people to medications and to surgery. So I think it's fair to say, and this is not a normative "you're a bad person" thing, but
And again, when she's talking about medication, surgery, and everything, she's literally ignoring the fact that this whole medication and surgery thing is a whole business. You have people literally making money behind these people struggling with this mental illness. To me personally, it's a demonic possession. They are struggling with some demonic issue, which need to be treated spiritually. More importantly, it is a spiritual thing. Lack of intercession, lack of prayer, lack of putting themselves before God for God to help them deal with the whole thing. And maybe stop certain stupid habit, because most of the time this thing happen because of cycles of habit that we have adopted, and that those habits have now developed some things that is causing people to now think things that they should not be thinking of. So it's so sad, but yeah.
it's not the norm, right?
But that doesn't make it wrong.
No.
It doesn't make it
If it's not normal, it's wrong.
invaluable.
Absolutely. If it is not normal, it's wrong. Thank you, Jesse.
Would you say autism is wrong?
He
Yes.
would. You are.
Okay, but
Because it's a,
And you see the way she's using, and that is where I was saying earlier, she's not really, she's just, someone praying to be a Christian. And I would say she's like one of the average believer that we have now. As someone that has been around Christ, I've experienced it a little bit. When I study the Bible, there is something clear there that the creation of God is absolutely perfect. We are perfect human beings. I know most of believers will not cognitively understand this thing that I'm saying right now, because it is difficult for someone that is sick to understand that you were not made to be sick. Now, sickness does not mean that God, wanted you to be sick. Sickness is the compendium of us human beings, our errors, that have led us into those places. Because sickness, if you study the fundamental of it, the foundation of it, you realize that there is always a spirit behind every sickness. And if you don't deal with the spiritual aspect part of a sickness, you cannot even heal it. That is why there are many sicknesses that in the hospital, they are powerless against those illness, because the root of the sickness is in the spirit. So their whole argument where they're about to kind of like engage right now is kind of like just not.
It's an abnormal situation.
Right, but
so
abnormal,
wrong.
Yeah, but wrong is a normative form of judgment. It's abnormal, obvious.
You had all different thought about that, because I work with the autism population.
I do too.
You shouldn't be.
What?
You shouldn't be.
But back to the issue.
Why not?
Back to the issue of transgender.
You just communicated via your
I believe
multiple
they
platforms
can overcome it.
that.
I don't want to have this kind of like go this for long, have a long clip, but I think you kind of like understand the whole, idea of what we are doing here. We are being the light, shining the light, and Jesse right here in this particular case has done a great job. I love him. He's on YouTube. If you can follow him, his show, the name is called The Fallen State. That's right there on the left side on top of the particular video we are watching. And he knows how to get into the mind of these people to bring them to the place where they realize that maybe sometime what they're doing, they need to reconsider it. So yes, this is my own way of being the light, shining the light and sharing the light to you. And we'll be coming back with part 2 of this clip, so that you should kind of like enjoy the whole thing. But the whole show is on YouTube if you want to kind of like listen to it. And I'll be putting the link and the description under this particular video. So guys, thank you for watching, and this was Being the Light. Share the light and shine the light. So ciao, 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 order keepers. See you again.